Is loyalty framed differently for managers compared to players? I mean, it would seem is that bit more acceptable for those in the dugout to jump ship than it is for players to jump ship. So let's get into this now. We're talking about two clubs specifically here, Stoke City and Sunderland. And of course, over the last couple of days, we have seen Sunderland manager, the man who was in the hot seat at Sunderland, Alex Neil, take up the job at Stoke City. And Sunderland 17 hours ago put out a tweet, "Thank you for the memories, Alex." So he has come and he has gone. Now we are hearing that Tony Mowbray could well be heading to Sunderland as a result of Neil's departure. He's gone from Sunderland and he's taken up a much better paid job at Stoke City. So is it more acceptable for guys in the dugout to do that than it is for players?
Football's never been fair. Whether it's the players or the manager, clubs are quick to show players the door. I mean, pre-Bosman, they would get rid of you in a heartbeat if they could, if they didn't fancy you, if you felt your time was up. So loyalty is not a word you would closely associate with a professional game. It's not new. It's been there forever. I think for Alex, it is a strange one. He's got Sunderland going in the right direction. He's taken over Stoke, who were at the bottom. I think they're one off the bottom now. But I think, I think this stat tells you everything about Alex Neil's decision. They've signed 23 players, Sunderland, since the new people have taken over the football club. Mm-hmm. Four of the 23 were over 25. Didn't pay any money for them. So the rest were all under 25. So they're looking for nirvana. I think they've taken a football club and they're saying we're going to buy young, promising players, develop them, sell some of them, and we'll progress as a football club, both on the park and financially. Well, that's nirvana. That'll be very, very, very hard to achieve. I think going to Stoke and the owners that they have, important to him. I'm sure that he's going to double his own salary. But I think more important to him that they will support him in the transfer market and they're not buying young players that.
So you're saying Neil was right to do what he's done?
I think he is. I think he's gone to a club that will support him in the transfer market, and he's not developing players for the next manager as he was being asked to do at Sunderland.
Would you say that if this was a player, Graham, as opposed to a manager doing this?
As a first answer to the question, Jim, I think loyalty is not great on both sides of the argument, but it's a player or a manager in football. It never has been.
Have you done what Alex Neil is doing? There 1 minute and saying 3 months ago, I'm committed to this place, going to give it a serious go.
No, I don't think so.
And then leave?
I don't think so, no. Not recall. Even as a player, I did push to leave Middlesbrough, but I was wanted by the European champions and the best team in the world at the time, Liverpool. But as a manager, no, I'm thinking out loud. No.
So what's your take on it, Simon? Is loyalty framed differently here for managers compared to players?
Well,
and is Neil right to have done? Graham says, no, he's right to have done what he's done.
Well, I mean, look, loyalty is a silly word because it's more about integrity. It's more about the responsibility you take on when you involve yourself in an obligation that you have. Loyalty doesn't really exist. Probably the most loyal people are the fans. And they sometimes can go off the reservation the first sign of trouble and when players or managers aren't performing or owners aren't doing quite what they want. Look, the bottom line is that Sunderland were the architects of their own downfall. They didn't want to lock him up on a longer-term contract with some caveats.
He must have had a clause where he got permission to speak to someone else.
Once someone asks you, the difficulty is, once a manager knocks on your door and says, I want permission to talk to another football club, they're dead in your eyes because they're basically saying, I want to go and talk to someone else. And if I quite don't fancy it over there, I might come back and do you a favour and stay with the job I got in the first place. So the moment a manager asked me, Steve Bruce did it to me. He asked me to go and speak to Birmingham, and that was it, dead.
You also know that manager, if he came to you with that conversation, he'd already done his deal elsewhere.
Of course. I mean, the difference between a player and a manager, right? First of all, Sunderland architects of their own downfall, right? Because if they wanted to lock him up on a contract that was slightly prohibitive, then put him on a longer-term contract because everyone likes security. Put a release clause on it and make Stoke have to pony up some money.
Well, Sunderland say that he agreed to a new deal recently.
Rolling 1 year contract.
So he can't have been that much unhappy.
Is there any compensation involved?
Depends upon what they've been able to negotiate. But here's the difference. What is the difference in management behaving differently to players? Players are responsible to themselves. Managers are by the very nature of their job description, are a management tool. They are responsible for a group. They take on a far greater responsibility than an individual player does. So when you look at the idea that a manager should, well, first of all, what were they first? They were players, so they're cut from a particular cloth. They're institutionalised. They've got a mentality of all for me and one for myself, and it will land in the dugout. Oh, I am absolutely
institutionalised.
Yeah. Just in case you missed that.
But they are. You're told that you're wonderful things from the age of 16, and then you land up in the dugout with the same attitude as you were as a player, but a bit more world experience.
Simon, the argument here is it's not about Alex Neil getting more dosh at Stoke. This is about he will be given a transfer budget which he wasn't going to get at Sunderland.
Michael O'Neill trimmed the wage bill. He spent the last 2.5 years cutting the cloth down there.
Or maybe they didn't believe in him. Maybe the owners have the money to go again.
Most certainly they do.
I think he was being asked at Sunderland to develop players. They didn't buy any of the finished articles they bought. They didn't buy. They got 4 players over 20. No, have you seen the wealth of this guy?
Have you seen the wealth of this kid? His father who owns
but
this
he's not
club.
spending it.
Hang on. Is it sensible situation? Okay, they've been languishing.
He's not spending it.
Hang on, Graham. They've been languishing in League One for 3 years. This club has been in chaos. The first thing you do is get out of that division and stabilise and be sensible, right? So wouldn't it be reasonable if Alex Neil starts the season and does okay, you kick on in January? Why have you got to kick on in the summer? Because your manager says you absolutely must.
You're coming at it from an owner's perspective.
No, I'm coming from a pragmatic perspective.
I'm coming at it. I'm trying to look behind the very obvious. To the man in the street, to journalists, he's only gone for the money because he's doubled his wages.
That'd be a big part of it.
I don't see it. I think that's a poor second to the big picture.
No, I think Graham's right there.
I think it's a poor second to the big picture. I think I'm coming at it from an ex-football manager.
Okay.
I'm looking, since that new owner's gone in, the young chap at Sunderland, they've signed 23 players. 4 of them were over 25, but those 4 were all free transfers. So the rest of them are all young men under 25 that they think they can improve and maybe sell some of them eventually. Well, that is nirvana.
But that's your assumption.
No, I'm looking. Let me finish. So you're the manager, Alex Neil. And he stated today there's no door to bang down anymore because he's already banged it down weeks and weeks ago. He wants more and better players, like every manager does. Those players he's been asked to develop for the next manager. But
that's your assumption.
I'm saying that's football.
But
that is football.
No, that's your version of it.
That's an assumption. As a manager's point,
if you're a sensible owner, and let's assume there is such a thing, right? Then you will know that you've asked the manager to compromise his views. I'm telling you, this kid, Neil, is an average manager, and he will go and reap the whirlwind at Stoke, because Stoke have sat there for 2.5 years. They've been out of the Premier League for 3 years. They've had massive wage bills. They've brought an international manager in that came in with a reputation, that struggled to get it under control. If Peter Coates and Denise and everyone that's there has got so much money, why have they had to spend all their time trimming a wage bill when most teams bounce back?
Let me tell you a fact. If you're looking to get out of those leagues, you need experienced, battle-hardened players.
And some quality.
Yes, of course.
And you're saying that's why he's gone, because you're going to get better players.
I think he's being asked to work with a group of players that he's going to make better if he's a good coach. Sunderland will benefit sometime in the future by selling some of them.
Yeah.
But that ain't going to help him
we'll
get out of that
league. We'll get
league.
the views of the fans the other side of the
that makes sense.
Graeme, here's one for you, Christopher. Tell Graeme Souness Jimmy's got a short memory, because he did exactly the same thing as Alex Neil when he left Blackburn and went to Newcastle. Is that true?
I think I was there a tad more than 6 months.
Yeah.
I think I was at Blackburn for best part, was it 4 and a bit years? And I thought we did a good job there. And I made a mistake leaving Blackburn at that time. 100%. Big mistake by me.
You've told me you made a mistake when you went from Rangers at that time as well.
Yeah.
And you went to Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm
So
guilty.
you've had a few mistakes along the way in the career path.
You don't get to my age and not make mistakes, both in football and out of football. I was guilty of the grass is always greener.
But that's you guys in a nutshell.
But I was 4.5 years. I was 4 and a bit years there.
That's why I say you're institutionalised.
We're in the
because that's
championship.
how you
we got
roll.
up to the Premier League, won a trophy, qualified for Europe. I did a good job. But the difference with Alex Neil and me, with what's the chap's name? Who's phoned?
Christopher.
Chris. The difference. I think I left the club in good shape. I was there 4 and a bit years. I didn't leave after 6 months.
But you're making assumptions. See, I don't care either which way about Sunderland or Stoke. Right? I look at this and go, you've taken a team that gets 48,000 fans in the stadium with an owner that you can school for a period of time. You might have to take a backward step while he goes, I want to come in here and then not sign any players. And then in January he realises he's got to, and you've got an owner you can manipulate. No. The here and now. You guys live in the here and now, and you get to repent in it all the time because you make these decisions, and then you go, the grass is greener. The grass is better over there for me.
Can I suggest something as well? Again, in this, us working together, I love it because I got a chance to talk and explain things. Looking at a situation, another thing jumps out at me. Sunderland came out with the statement they had to allow him to speak to another club.
Yeah.
So he had something in his contract.
True.
He had something in his contract.
It's on them as well.
Fair enough.
It's on them, absolutely.
No, let me
right.
finish. He had something in his contract, Jim, which meant he could go and speak to another club. Now, why did he put that in the contract when he was signing a
Agreed.
contract? Why did he? There was something about
Because it's a one-year rolling contract.
Setup of the club.
It's a one-year rolling contract.
Something about the
It's a bit
subclimate. He
naive.
was